Hi, I'm Bill Arnold. Thank you for listening to this podcast. There are many more podcasts available at myfaithradio.com. Your support makes this possible. Thank you.
And a warm welcome to Afternoons with Bill Arnold. Hey, good afternoon. My name is Ben, and I'm in for Bill today. And right now, there is a little boy or a little girl who's living in extreme poverty. And right now is your moment to change their life by sponsoring them through the ministry of One Child. And we're partnering with One Child all this week. Here's the phone number, how you can help, 800-864-0200 or myfaithradio.com. This hour, we're going to talk to Jason Bentley. He's a global partnership manager for One Child. He works with churches across the United States to find sponsors for these kids living in extreme poverty. And he often travels with pastors and church members around the world to see the work of One Child. And for pretty much most of the day today, I've been looking at Brito Mystery. He's a boy, 11 years old, living in Bangladesh, and he lives in extreme poverty. He wants to grow up to do great things in Jesus' name. He wants to make a difference. But because of the circumstances that he was born in, he doesn't really have that opportunity, but that's where we come in. For the opportunity to be a child champion. The opportunity for $39 a month to support him, to give him vital medical care, nutritious food, to teach him about Jesus, to disciple him, to grow him, and to give him skills to overcome the poverty in which he lives in, to help him pull himself out, his family out, to lift up his entire community. His name's Brito Mystery. Would you go to myfaithradio.com right now? Read about Brito. Pray about sponsoring him. His birthday is December 12th. Thank you. Jason, welcome to Afternoons with Bill Arnold. We're sure really honored to have you on Faith Radio today.
Thank you, Ben. It's a privilege and a joy to be able to join you today and talk about taking hope to kids in hard places. Thanks for the opportunity.
It is our honor. Now, you're a pastor yourself, Jason, and you talk with pastors all the time. You see lots of opportunities for churches to do great missionary work. Why child sponsorship?
Well, there's many reasons why child sponsorship is just a fantastic way to engage in the Great Commission. I mean, the New Testament writers talk about it being true, pure religion, to be able to care for children that are in need. Jesus talks about, when you do it to the least of them, you do it to me. I mean, it's literally the gospel in action. It's caring for those who are closest to the heart of God. I mean, he is God to the fatherless, and his heart is to take care of those that are in need. And so child sponsorship allows us to do that, to provide holistic child development, to not just preach at someone, but to say, here, I'm going to meet your practical needs. And I'm going to give you food, education, medical health and wellness, social development. And then I'm going to tell you about Jesus. Once there's some food in your belly, you can hear. And I'm going to talk with you about the hope of the world, the hope of your life, by giving you some practical hope in yours.
Because a lot of these kids, Jason, and I've been to the Haiti border, and I know you've probably been around the world, they literally have nothing. I was reading a story of one of the children at myfaithradio.com. You can go meet her or him, sponsor them, take one moment, be the child champion. And it says their favorite toys, and her favorite toy, one of her favorite toys, was a rubber band. They literally have nothing, but they find joy in the little things. And as I looked and I watched them live their lives and interact with their other children and the child champions and these hope centers and the pastors and the teachers and some of their families, It gave me hope for me and the children here in the United States, because we have so much excess, and we fill our schedules, and we're busy, and we attain and achieve and all of these other things. They have hopes for a future as well, but it looks different for them. Would you help us understand why that is?
Ben, would you mind asking that question in maybe a different way?
Sure. Yeah. We were just talking about some of these kids and the situations that they grow up in. And we talk about extreme poverty, and there are situations here in the United States where there are bad situations, but I've never seen anything like I saw along the Haiti border. And yet there is hope in those places, and it's because of the Hope Centers, and it's a completely different situation inside the Hope Center and outside the Hope Center. And the only thing that I found that was really different was the tenderness, Jesus, the relationship, the love. And so would you help me understand, I guess the question that I'm trying to ask is, help me understand what it's like to be one of these children inside the Hope Center and the difference to the children that are outside the Hope Center.
Well, imagine as a child outside of the Hope Center, you are, if not living on the street, you're living in a situation where it's looking maybe like a one-room shack with perhaps both parents, often just a single parent or a caring aunt or uncle or grandparent, somebody that's looking after you, and you are daily just trying to survive. Your day is just, I've got to find food for the day. If you are living with a caretaker, they are consumed with, I've got to provide somehow, some way food for my family, or we're going to die. They live in an environment where they are perpetually at wit's end. Their back is at the wall, against the wall, and they're just trying to survive. And it is just the absolute grind of life, the pressure, the stress of all of it. And the children are just fending for themselves, trying to survive, not knowing what's going to happen next, surrounded by high pressure situations, pressure to enter into gangs, to sell drugs, to be exploited, just mounting pressures outside of just trying to survive. But the moment that a child is able to step across that threshold of a Hope Center, they're entering a place where child champions have said, we're going to not only shoulder this stress and pressure with you, but we're going to act as a human shield. Our love and our compassion and our generosity is going to act as a shield to push back against the pressures that are surrounding you. And we're going to protect you. And here we're going to feed you, and we're going to love you, and we're going to speak life over you. And you may not hear it much at home because either you're from an abusive situation or the caretaker is out doing other things, but we're going to speak life over you, and we're going to give you love and tenderness and compassion. And literally they are stepping from just utter pressure and darkness into a place that is filled with hope, a place that's filled with child champions that are speaking life over them and literally providing them a way of escape, practically all of those pressures that are in their life on a day-to-day situation.
And these kids were born into this as babies. And you just talk about that intense pressure and their backs against the wall as infants, and they grow up in it. And I think that's one of the things, Jason Bentley, Global Partnership Manager at One Child, I think the thing that I was trying to get to is the thing that is so flabbergasting and amazing to me is that these children are born and grow up in these pressure situations, but it's normal for them. But yet it's completely not normal, right? And you talk about that safety net, and you talk about so many things and so many people and so many vices and gangs and trafficking and gun running and drugs and prostitution. Everybody is vying for these children. Everybody's vying for these children. And here at Faith Radio and as part of the Faith Radio family, we're asking you, because a lot of us have done it. I know, Jason, you've done it. I've done it. Paul, Amanda,
Yes.
Susie, Carmen, we've all done it. Bill has done it. Sponsoring a child because we want to stand up and we want to vie for these children as well, for their souls. We want to teach them about Jesus and give them that safety net that you were talking about. And so if you're listening right now, would you take one moment for one child? There's a phone number you can call. You can talk to them about, like, hey, I have a granddaughter who's 10 years old, and I would really love to sponsor a 10-year-old girl. And maybe you want to have a conversation. Here's the phone number, 800-864-0200. I'll say it one more time because I know it's fast. You can help one child right now living in extreme poverty. When you sponsor a child, you change their life. $39 a month. The phone number is 800-864-0200. Or you can meet these kids. There's hundreds of these kids. I'm looking at Sharon right now. She's 14. She lives in Kenya. Or Sion, who's 14, lives in Ethiopia. MyFaithRadio.com. You can look at these kids. You can find the exact child that you are called to sponsor. Now, you know, we are blessed to live in this country. We live in conditions far better than most places around the world. And I know you have seen some really extreme things. Can you help people in the U.S. understand, Jason, what's it like for a mom and dad in this situation? We talked a little bit about what it's like for a child fending with that extreme pressure, their backs against the wall from when they were born as they grow up. What's it like for a mom and dad?
Well, I'm gonna share an example that really highlights the darkest side to all of this. Parents in some of these situations, things can be so hopeless and they can be so desperate that it allows them to enter a place of just utter and extreme vulnerability, where they would be, one, deceived into doing something with their child that they otherwise would not do, but the desperation created a place for deception. Or they are so utterly desperate and just without hope that they would willingly participate and play a role in the unimaginable. For example, I have seen and I've met children, and specifically I'm thinking of a few different cases in the Philippines where we are, where children were at the age of 5, 6, 7 years old, were literally sold by their parents to traffickers, and where the parents, again, so desperate that they were either deceived into some story, some false story that a trafficker gave to them, that they participated in, or they just willingly went along with it, but so desperate that they sold their children off to traffickers. Or sometimes the pressure is so staggering that they are willing to just abandon their kids altogether. I remember a situation specifically of a Hope Center outside of Manila in the Philippines, where there was a single mom with two children. A potential suitor came along that was promising a better life, financial resource for the mother, but wasn't crazy about what he perceived to be as baggage, the baggage being her 2 young children. And so the mother, so desperate, literally abandoned the kids, just left one day, left them locked up in the house. And the one sibling had to, after days of not eating, the one sibling, as he tried to care for his younger sister, had to crawl outside the window, try to maneuver his way over to the next adjoining domicile, and lost his footing and fell, and broke his leg and was laying there, and that's honestly how they ended up finding him and was able to recover him and his sister, because they found him laying there in the street with a broken leg, and he was able then to take them to the apartment. So these parents, again, I'm highlighting some of the most darkest examples, but parents would get to the point so desperate and such need that they would do the unthinkable of trafficking their children, either intentionally or just willing to be deceived, or abandoning them altogether. Desperate things then exist in this world. But thank God for people who have the heart of God, who will say, I will champion these children. I'll get involved. And that's why I'm just so grateful that we're taking one moment for one child to help some child somewhere in the world escape a situation like this. Perhaps they are being trafficked, or perhaps have been abandoned, or are facing something unimaginable. We can change that simply by saying, look, I'm willing to invest into their life and in their future. I'm willing to invest in hope.
Can you imagine it is an every person for themselves type situation with their children and a mother, and the mother leaves? The story Jason just told us leaves me feeling nauseous. But that's where we come in. And that's where, when you just take one moment for one child, you can rescue them from extreme poverty. You will change their life when you call 800-864-0200. That's 800-864-0200. You can meet these kids, read their stories, get to know them, pray over them. Pick one, change their life, champion them at myfaithradio.com. Thank you for making a big difference. My prayer is that there are children that don't go to bed tonight without the news that you have stood up to champion them, that you will sponsor them, that you will change their life. My name is Ben. This is Afternoons with Bill Arnold. We're talking with Jason Bentley, a global partnership manager at One Child. We've talked a lot about the dark parts, but there is success, there is life change, there is transformation because of you and people like you and me that are standing up to sponsor these kids. We'll tell you more about those stories next on Faith Radio.
Hi, this is Bill Arnold, host of the Afternoon Show. If you're a reader and you love Susie Larson, I've got quite an offer for you. She has written a new book called Waking Up to the Goodness of God, 40 Days Towards Healing and Wholeness. And you're not going to believe this, but our friends at Thomas Nelson, the publisher, has said we will give you 100 copies of Susie Larson's brand new book to give away. And all you have to do to enter to win yours is to go to myfaithradio.com. Connecting faith to life, Faith Radio.
One moment, one child.
I would start each day early in the morning, and I would watch over the goats, sheep, donkeys, and the cows so that they would not be stolen. I headed them to places where they could find grass to eat, but for me there was no food. But when One Child opened a Hope Center in my village, they told my parents that they could help me with my education and help us break the cycle of poverty. I'm in school now, and I dream to be an engineer.
Wow. It's a little boy growing up in Turkana, Africa, helping his family by keeping his eyes on the livestock while his mom and dad go to work as day laborers. Story's real. It's not something that you and I really even understand because, well, you and I don't really know what extreme poverty's like. And this little boy didn't have anything to eat all day. He certainly didn't have a reason to dream. He was going to go out. How was he going to go out and get out of that cycle of poverty? The One Child Hope Center, though, gave him a chance. Now he gets to go to school. Now he gets to dream. He wants to be an engineer. If you could sponsor just one child in this one moment, the phone number is 800-864-0200. There are kids waiting for you right now at myfaithradio.com. If you could believe me when I say that your $39 a month will help the child receive food and education and other things, and that your sponsored child will get to learn about Jesus, would you take this one moment right now to make a difference? This is Afternoons with Bill Arnold. My name is Ben. I'm filling in today. Jason Bentley is our guest. He's a global partnership manager for One Child and has the opportunity to travel around to churches around the United States and travel with pastors around the world to meet these kids. And Jason, we just heard a success story from this little boy who was a herder, didn't have any food. He was trying to get, the herd grass to eat. And these cows that I've seen in extreme poverty are not the cows that we see as we're driving down the interstate here through Wisconsin and Minnesota and Iowa and the Dakotas, the big steers. These are bare bones cows. But this little boy now is learning about Jesus. Now he has the hope and a future to be able to dream. And that gift is amazing. So, Jason, would you share some other success stories, just like we just heard about change? And you've seen some really dark children in these dark moments, in these dark situations, and then they're into Hope Centers. They learn about Jesus. They're given vital medical care, nutritious food, taught skills on how to get out of poverty, and then their life changes. But it all starts because somebody took one moment to be their child champion.
Well, there is nothing that is more unforgettable than to be in a poor barrio in Honduras, and knowing that just outside of this Hope Center, it is gang riddled, flooded with drugs and violence and just unimaginable poverty, open sewage flowing in the rivers, and people selling tortillas, making 30 cents a day, 80 cents a day, American money, just to try to take care of their family, knowing that is just lurking outside the doors of the Hope Center, and even seeing young children, young teenagers still in those streets, dirty and obviously in the wrong company, and being swept up in those things, and then stepping into the Hope Center and seeing children smiling, laughing, singing, watching them with tutors doing homework, learning, just utterly alive with hope. It is such a stark contrast how mere feet can separate two realities, but that's the power of sponsorship. That's the power of somebody being willing to say, I'll be a child champion. I'll invest in a child. That just within the walls of that Hope Center, these children are engaged in academics, are learning. Their story is just completely different than those that are outside the door.
Wow. You just talked about being a child champion. We do have some good news. Thank you to our friend Terry from Minnetonka, Minnesota. Monica will not go to bed tonight in Cambodia without knowing that she is now a sponsored child. This is amazing. Monica, you are a champion. Terry, you are the champion. Thank you for sponsoring Monica.
Praise God.
That is amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Would you be
So
like Terry?
awesome.
Would you be like Terry? Would you go to myfaithradio.com? Would you sponsor Sharon, 14 from Kenya, maybe Sion from Ethiopia, also 14. Maybe for you, it's calling, and that's cool too, $39 a month. 800-864-0200. The phone number is 864-0200. 0200. 800-864-0200. This is Afternoons with Bill Arnold. I'm filling in. My name is Ben. We're here with Jason Bentley, Global Partnership Manager at One Child. What's it like, Jason, let's just put ourselves in the shoes of Monica, who is now just sponsored from Cambodia. How will she be told? How will her life now change? And what will that experience be like for her?
Well, she's gonna go from being one of those children that we just talked about outside the walls, who are wrapped up or being wrapped up by just the reality of extreme poverty and all that brings, and the darkness and the hopelessness, to now being able to step across that threshold and be inside a hope center filled with child champions, loving on her and speaking life over her and teaching her and making sure she's well mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and then having the opportunity to actually engage with the generous child champion who said, "Hey, I'll sponsor her." Being able to write to her and be able to receive a letter back, to receive an email back from somebody in the United States that loves her and is speaking hope over her, and knowing that somebody cares about her, and just that exchange. Just honestly, the financial benefit is obvious. The idea that $39 is going towards food, education, medical health and wellness, social development, and discipleship. That's wonderful, and we thank God for that. But just as powerful, and we could perhaps argue even more powerful, will be those letters, that relational exchange, that investment from the child champion here in the United States, writing to that girl saying, we love you, we believe in you, you have a future with hope. You're going to be a world changer. You're one of the greatest men or women of God in your generation. You're gonna make a difference. Having that spoken over their life is invaluable, because those types of things aren't common in that child's life. And being able to write back and exchange, and the connection and the relationship, man, it's powerful. Like, there's so much that goes into hope. There's the financial piece, but there's that relationship, that life-giving word. It's powerful, and that's something that the child's going to get to look forward to, is I have somebody that loves me and believes in me and actually communicates with me and shares what's happening in their life, and I get to share what's happening in my life. Someone that listens to me. Of course, they've got child champions there in the Hope Center doing those same things, but just knowing, wow, someone clear across the world loves me and cares about me. It's a remarkable thing. I mean, even me, I'm involved with One Child and have been, but man, just to be able to, the two kids that I sponsor, I mean, to get word back from them. My family and I, we speak Spanish, and we partner in sponsoring a girl in Honduras. And the cool thing for us is that, we get to write back and forth in her language. Like, we don't even need to utilize the translation piece. So for us as a family, it's like, hey, we're gonna write to our adopted little girl, and my son, I've got two sons. Hey, we get to write to our sister today, and we're writing back and forth. And in fact, we received a letter from her through the Christmas holiday, and she's talking all about her Christmas celebrations and what she loves. And it's teaching my boys not just about Christian generosity, but it's enriching them on a cultural level, understanding, hey, we do things like this here in America, and they do things like that in Honduras during Christmas, and isn't this neat? And it's just creating this mutual understanding and learning and appreciation for diversity and differences. All the while, of course, we're giving a future with hope and living out the call to abandon our lives and our own comfort and our own benefit for the sake of others, just like our Lord and leader, Jesus.
Amen. Jason Bentley is our guest today. This is Afternoons with Bill Arnold. This is your moment. One moment for one child. Jason's a global partnership manager at One Child, and we're going to answer your questions if you have any. 877-933-2484 coming up next. But I just want to read Matthew 25 to you. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison. You came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison or go to visit you? The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these, brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And this is your opportunity to do something for the least of these. Would you call 800-864-0200 and change a life today? You'll change a child's life today when you make that call, but then I also promise you your life will change forever. 800-864-0200 is the phone number. You can meet these kids, see their stories, read their stories, look into their eyes, pray for them at myfaithradio.com. Again, that's myfaithradio.com. This is your moment.
One moment, one child.
I can't help it. I like bugs, I like grasshoppers, dragonflies, and spiders are my favorite.
And he always wants to show them to me.
I like frogs too, but they always want to eat my bugs.
I love that kid. Toto, he's from the Philippines, just like any boy. He likes bugs and frogs. And the only difference is that Toto lives in extreme poverty. His family's poor. They live on less than $2 a day. And today at Faith Radio, we want to ask you to come alongside a child just like Toto. Just a fun little boy or a girl. That when you realize you can change their life, why wouldn't you take one moment for one child? We have kids on our website today at myfaithradio.com that are in desperate need of a sponsor. They're praying for you right now. And your $39 a month is going to change absolutely everything for a child in poverty. And where you can put that child's picture on your refrigerator. It's not just about giving money, though, each month. This is the beginning of a relationship. We have Adecha. We sponsor her. She lives in the Dominican Republic, and she hangs on our refrigerator. My daughter and I, we pray for her absolutely every morning. When we get a letter from her, we all run to sit down on the couch, and we open it and read it together. You can remember to pray for your sponsor child every day. You can write them letters. They'll write you. Many of the kids tell us that letters from their sponsors were like hearing from a voice of God. You can't even imagine the impact that you're having on their life. You can have that kind of impact on a life today, to change their life. My name is Ben. This is Afternoons with Bill Arnold. We're taking one moment for one child, and there isn't a lot of opportunity and time left. So today, I know life has been busy. I know you're on your way home. Maybe you're getting ready for dinner or picking the kids up from school. As you listen to this conversation that I'm having with Jason Bentley, Global Partner Manager at One Child, would you go to myfaithradio.com to meet these kids? No, there's one in particular that I've just been looking at. Her name is Sharon. She's 14 from Kenya. And she wants to grow up and she wants to help. In some of the pressure cooker situations that Jason's been telling us about for the last 25 minutes, she wants to help because she is learning about Jesus in the Hope Center. She just needs a champion. She just needs a sponsor. Maybe for you, it's Sion, who's a girl in Ethiopia, or Natik, a boy in India. There are children with your birthday who want to grow up and do what you do for a living, or maybe the same age as your children or grandchildren. And not only will you change their life, but they're going to change your life too. The phone number is 800-864-0200. That's 800-864-0200. You can see these kids at myfaithradio.com. Jason, you're a pastor yourself. You get the opportunity to travel around to churches to advocate for these kids around the United States, but you also get to travel around the world and meet them. We've talked about some of the tough situations you've seen. We've talked about some of the success stories you've seen and the life change that you've seen. We've talked about some of the writing back and forth with the child. And I just was reading the fact that these kids, when they get a letter from their child champions here in the United States, they feel like they're hearing the voice of God. What do these letters mean to these kids? Because I've heard some stories of these kids keeping these letters for the rest of their life, pictures of their sponsors for the rest of their life, and now they're 70, 80, 90 years old, and the picture still is in their Bible.
You know, the book of Proverbs says that a word fitly spoken, or a well spoken word, the right word in the right situation, can be like apples of gold and pictures of silver. And when we're communicating with the children that we sponsor, we have the opportunity to, because we're communicating, we're writing, we have the opportunity to hand pick words and phrases and things that can communicate the deepest sense of value, the deepest sense of meaning and worth and care. And if a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pictures of silver, imagine what apples of gold are like in a third world context, where everything around you is filthy, dark, broken, bleak, hopeless. And then an apple of gold, a word fitly spoken, arrives into your life. It's motivational would be putting it mildly. I mean, it's like it's oxygen. It's soul fuel for these children to hear from somebody that God loves them, that they love them. I mean, it's like, the best way that I can describe it is like the old movie The Wizard of Oz. And you know, the first part of the movie, everything is in black and white. You know, they're in this kind of dark, colorless, black and white world, and then they arrive at Oz, and wow, they see everything in color. Everything's in color. And I kind of picture that when I think of, you know, the things that my family and I, when we write to Claimy, who's in Honduras, and Macias, who's in Ethiopia, I feel like, because I've seen their context, I've been in their world, it's like black and white. It's just so hopeless, much worse than Dorothy's Kansas. And when we're writing and trying to invest these apples of gold, I imagine that it is truly like color shining into their world. And I know this because I actually was back again in Honduras in June of this past year of 23, and was able to see Claimy. And the cool thing is that I've actually got to meet time with Claimy, the girl we on Honduras, like 3 or 4 different times. In fact, I've watched her grow from a 9-year-old little girl to a 13-year-old teenage girl. And she was saying to me, you know, keep writing. I love your letters. Was all just so excited to see me and to remind me and I, we just needed to keep sending her letters because they meant so much to her. And recorded a video of her saying to my boys back at home, please send me more letters, send me more letters. So it's apples of gold that we're investing into the life of kids that are so desperate and so hopeless. It's putting color in their world.
Yeah, you know, Jason, if I can just add, the thing that really gets me when, you know, we think of these kids, and I know we mentioned it earlier, they didn't choose this. They were born into it. And I think sometimes we do take for granted how blessed we are and just the life that we have. And so if you can just give some of that blessing and give hope to one of these child, wouldn't you want to do it? Why wouldn't you want to say yes to that? It's just $39 a month. That's a little more than $1 a day. But a lot of these families, they're living on $2 a day or less right now. Give some of that hope to them. The number to call is 800-864-0200. I'll say it again, 800-864-0200. Or if you're able, go to myfaithradio.com. You can meet these kids. You can see their faces, their joy, their hope, their dreams, their aspirations. If you can help someone today, take the time to do it.
Again, the phone number is 800-864-0200. That was Wyatt, and you're amazing. You're a next-generation leader, and I'm so grateful for your heart. Doesn't matter if you're young or old or anywhere in between. If you have a moment, would you take that moment for one child? Your child is waiting for you right now, and my prayer is that these children don't go to bed tonight without knowing that you are going to be their champion. You're going to sponsor them for $39 a month. You're going to change their life, and this whole process is going to change your life. This is Afternoons with Bill Arnold on Faith Radio.
Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world, and right now there are kids in desperate need of Jesus, food, and medical care. This is your time to become their champion, to change their life. When you sponsor just one child, you plant seeds of hope in their heart, and you work together with people on the ground to change the families, communities, and the future of these kids. You might not be able to change the world, but for one child, you can change theirs. Meet the kids. Find your child at myfaithradio.com.
1 moment for one child.
My name is James. I'm the Hope Center Director here at K003 Wild Hope Academy. So technically our Hope Center, which I consider like one of the biggest safe houses in this community. It's a slum community in Kawangware. The challenges of the slum, like I would say, is being where we are, people cannot get clean water that's, again, fit for human use. So you'd realize even from just the general walk, that's one of the biggest challenges that we have. But over and above that, majority of the people, again, health and sanitation is an issue because from where you live, you don't have clear sewerage systems just to get access to all that. And with that comes the poverty of lack of jobs, lack of opportunities to just get an income on a daily, which now trickles down to the, again, basic needs. I just call it on the basic needs. Some would not be able to get clothing. Some would not be able to have like a decent meal on a daily, like 3 times a day, a balanced diet. With our Hope Center, from what I've just shared, from the recreational to the spiritual, like what I would say, the experience that someone in the States walks to Disney, that's the kind of experience they have when they walk into the Hope Center.
Wow. There are kids at myfaithradio.com right now that need a sponsor, that need you. And your $39 a month is going to change absolutely everything for their life because they live in extreme poverty. It'll just be like James was just saying, when a child in the U.S. walks into Disney World and their eyes are just exploding out of their heads. For your child that walks into a Hope Center in Africa, they're going to get good food. They're going to receive educational assistance, skills training. They're going to have fun, which is awesome, and they're going to learn about Jesus. And you have that kind of impact in a child's life today. Let me tell you about one child that needs a sponsor, and I've just been looking at Sharon from Kenya, 14 years old. We've been talking about Sharon most of the time this afternoon, just kind of off and on. She loves her handmade ball. That's one of her favorite toys. She can't just go to the store and buy a ball. She doesn't have that. She made her own ball. She loves to draw and color pictures at the Hope Center. One of her favorite chores to do around the house is to collect firewood and fetch water. Because there's no running water, there's no electricity, there's no heat. She's thankful for God, her family, her mom. She wants to grow up to be a nurse because where she lives, there is such disease and famine and the pressure that Jason's been talking about most of this hour. This is Afternoons with Bill Arnold. My name is Ben. Jason Bentley is our guest today, Global Partnership Manager at One Child. And Jason, we only have a couple of minutes left. Still so many children to sponsor, but we can just take one moment for one child. And if by the end of the hour, if there's somebody who's listening to Faith Radio right now who would stand up and sponsor Sharon, that would be amazing. She's waiting to meet you. She'd love to know before she goes to bed tonight that she is being championed by somebody, that she is loved by somebody in the United States, and somebody loves her and will be praying for her and writing her notes. And so she has those eyes that are so excited, like when she walks into the Hope Center, like kids in the U.S. walk into Disney World. Because, Jason, as we talked about, there are children inside the Hope Center, and God has that like dome of protection and love over the Hope Center, these churches. But then there are also children outside of the Hope Center. And when I had the opportunity to travel down to the Haiti border and be in one of these Hope Centers and see these children, and they were singing and we were praying and worshiping God. But then there were these two and then maybe three at the end, boys just kind of peeking over the window, over the ledge. And it's not glass windows, just a hole in the wall, looking in. And I said, can we bring them in? And there weren't resources. They're not sponsored. And so that's where you come in. That's when you call 800-864-0200 to allow those boys who are outside up to, havoc and just running around and being crazy boys, but want to come in, want to know about Jesus, want their lives to be changed as well. You can meet them at myfaithradio.com. So we've been talking about One Child. We're teaming up with One Child here at Faith Radio. It's been a couple of years now. But Jason, would you tell people listening right now, why One Child? Why are you all in with One Child? Why are we all in with One Child? Why is One Child so special?
Well, I think it's best summed up like this. John Connolly said this, that humanity, its essence, is to feel another's pain as one's own and to act to take that pain away. There is nobility in compassion. There is a beauty in empathy. There is a grace in forgiveness. And while I have been a part of One Child, I have just seen extraordinary child champions all around the globe. For example, I met a man who lived in Uganda, who lived in the same third world conditions as the children that he was wanting to help and trying to help. And I sat with this man in the capital city of Uganda, and I heard his heart for the children in his country and his community, knowing how desperate they are, and observed this man who said, you know what, I'm gonna do what I can do, and I'm gonna even go above and beyond that. I'm gonna in my attempt to take hope, I'm gonna display compassion, empathy, and forgiveness, and I'm gonna bring as many kids as I can into my own home to help them. I mean, this man is trying to take care of himself and his own children, his own family, but yet was such a child champion that he said, I'm gonna bring in more. And that left me feeling just so inspired, and yet at the same time so convicted, because here he is with nothing and is sacrificing at a level that I cannot even comprehend. That's the kind of people that I have met while serving with One Child. And there's people like that who will say, I will display extreme generosity. And then there are others who will say, you know what, I can't do that, but I can do $39 a month. $39 a month, that's extra for me. That's my Starbucks money. That's my McDonald's and Chick-fil-A money. And I'm so thankful, Ben, for your heart, for this opportunity to do this today, because what you think is your extra can be a child's everything. And to just know that right now around the country, there are people who are going to take one moment for one child and say, you know what? I can't necessarily go to Uganda. I can't go to the Philippines. I can't go to Honduras, but I can do $39 a month. I can invest in hope. I can make sure that a child receives ongoing holistic development so that I can be a shield against that pressure, and I can push back against the pressure that they're experiencing. And I can speak life and color into their world. I can do that. And I'm going to do that.
It takes just one moment for one child. The phone number is 800-864-0200. 800-864-0200 or myfaithradio.com. Jason Bentley was our guest today, the most tender hour to take one moment for one child. This is Afternoons with Bill Arnold on Faith Radio.
Thanks for listening. Programming like this is made available through your support. Information available at myfaithradio.com.